There's one more person coming. Okay. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Cape Coral Youth Council. Today's date is July 14th, 2023. This meeting will now come to order. Everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3, attendance. Vice Chair Garcia, please take today's attendance.
Member Encheta. Chair Revelo.
Here.
Member Bella.
Here.
Member Duperon.
Here.
Member Feichtfeller.
Here.
Vice Garcia. Member D. Garcia. Here. Member Little.
Here.
Member Muncy.
Here.
Member Negron.
Here.
Member Roman.
Here.
And Member Whittish.
Item 4, changes to the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, we will go to item 5. Item 5, review of meeting notes. Due to changes in our council, we will not have any city-issued meeting minutes anymore because we don't have a city clerk. But instead, we will have meeting notes provided by our vice chair. We will not have to vote on these notes, but this section of the agenda will basically allow us to have any member or even advisor to bring forward any possible mistakes or clarifications they feel is needed to add to these previous notes after we reviewed them. So they will be added to the backup material. Vice Chair added them again this time. Is there any discussion, changes, or anything of this topic? Seeing none, we will now go to item 6, recognitions and achievements. There are none to report at this time, sadly, because we did not win the FLC Community Service Project. But I just wanted to take the time and say that we all did very, very well. I'm super proud of ourselves for that video. But yeah, is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to item 7, advisor presentation. 7A, upcoming council report. Due to Advisor Mazurkowitz not being able to make it today's meeting, are there any updates from Councilmember Cosden about council?
Yes, so council was on hiatus. We had 5 weeks with no meetings. We just came back, and there's a big issue that I wanted to share with you guys. You may have heard of this already, and tell me if you have, if you've already had a presentation by Mr. Mazurkowitz. The Yacht Club Ballroom. It is a 60-year-old building at the Yacht Club Park, and we're looking at completely redoing the park, and that includes potentially tearing down the old ballroom and replacing it with a bigger, better one, a more expensive one. The ballroom has a lot of issues, but there's a lot of people in the community that want to keep it. So there's a big movement of people that are getting together and holding signs and making t-shirts and trying to make this happen. So that's a big issue. The city council has mostly been on the side of knocking down the building, but these people are trying to change some of our minds. So we'll be voting again on that pretty soon, and I think within the next few months is when the building will be torn down. So it's kind of a pressing issue. So you might hear about that in the news. And the other big thing right now is the budget. Every year this time we start working on our budget. City Council, we all got our packets. It's not a packet really, it's a book this big of a budget from the city manager and the budget office. And so we'll be going through workshops in August to talk about the budget. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to item 8, citizens input. This consists of input of citizens on matters concerning city government, 3 minutes per individual. The council will listen to all speakers and respond after all speakers have made their presentations. I will now read the Pledge of Civility. We will be respectful of each other even when we disagree. We will direct all comments to the issues. We will avoid personal attacks. Citizens' input is now open. Any members of the public wishing to speak, please use the podium to the right facing the dais to state your name for the record. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, citizens' input is now closed. Now we'll be going on to item 9, quarterly report. As written in our youth council ordinance, we must report on our activities and achievements to the city council at one of their regular council meetings every October, January, March, and May. And what we basically do is we have one member that creates a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, and it basically shows those 3 months of our progress. So we'll talk about our projects, we'll talk about the activities and events that we went to, and yeah, I'll have it all in a presentation. And then we'll go to one of those meetings, we'll pick the date and show what we did, and we'll present it, and it's just a really nice portion that we get to do after their citizens' input, and we just talk about what we've done, and not only show the council what we've done, but also the community, because unlike our meetings, we have a lot of citizens there, and sometimes we even have children there. So I know one time we went, there was a swimming group, so there was like 15 kids there, so they got to listen to our presentation and learn more about us. I wanted to talk about the date today and the member that can start the presentation. There are 2 dates in October that we could go to, October 4th and October 18th to do our presentation. So does anyone have any conflicts with those 2 dates? Just off the top of their minds, because I know it is a couple months out. But is there any discussion? No?
What are those dates again?
October 4th of 2023 and October 18th. Member Whittish? No? Okay. I personally have one thing. October 4th is my older brother's birthday. So I wanted to do it on October 4th because it would be closer in time and we wouldn't have to wait as long, but I personally am for October 18th. So if we could have a show of hands of who would like to do October 4th for the date, please raise your hands now. Show of hands for October 18th. Unanimous vote for October 18th. So October 18th, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. At the regular council meeting for city council. And that will be in chambers. Okay. Now, do I have a volunteer to make the PowerPoint presentation? Member Whittish? Vice Chair Garcia? Anyone else on the side interested in doing it?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the PowerPoint presentation, I'm not sure how you did it in the past.
Sorry. I'm not sure how you did it in the past, but I feel like it should be a 2-person job. Is that fine?
I think it should be a one-person job.
Okay.
I've done it before, and I know that I change a lot of things when I make presentations, so it really isn't that hard of a job. It's not really lengthy, but I think it should be a one-person job unless one of you want to add it to a 2-person job. But I personally would keep it at 1.
I'm fine necessarily either way, but if it's going to be a 2-person job, then I would like a senior and a junior. A senior because they're experienced and they know what it looks like, a junior because they're new and they can get the experience. So if we're going to do 2 people at all, then a junior and senior. If we're going to do 1 person, then 1 person.
I would agree with him, so Whittish.
Member Negron?
If Whittish wants any help, I could be the senior to help you out, because I've seen him a couple times.
I've also made the presentation, so I personally know that it really isn't too hard, but having a senior would be helpful if you want to do it, Whittish.
Yeah, no, at this time I'll volunteer to do it.
Okay. Any other volunteers? Okay, can I have a senior volunteer? Do it? Negron. Okay, so we have Member Whittish that will do the PowerPoint for the juniors, and then Member Negron who will do it for the seniors. Right, you're a junior, right. Okay. Is everyone okay with that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we have October 18th at 4:30 for the presentation date, and then we have Member Whitish and Member Negron. Okay. Is there any discussion? Any comments? Any questions? Seeing none, we'll go to business item 10A, strategic plan continue discussion. So at last meeting, Member Mazurkowitz presented a draft of our strategic plan based off our strategic meeting and based off our SWOT analysis. Because he is not here, actually, let me start first. Because of time constraints at our last meeting, he advised us to go back and look for strategic initiatives. Just come up with some ideas about what we would like to have in our strategic plan when it comes to strategic initiatives, which are basically tasks that go with our plan, basically. So if we want to do this, if we want more attendance in our meetings, what we could do is, post more social media things. Very specific tasks is what I kind of got from him. Since he's not here today, I kind of want to turn the discussion to Councilmember Cosden to kind of just start a discussion and go from there.
So I don't have much to say here. I got some information from Mr. Mazurkowitz, but he wanted me to tell you that the strategic plan at the next meeting will focus on strategic initiatives and assets, physical and fiscal messaging. I'm not sure what he meant by that, so I'm so sorry that I can't share more about the strategic plan. Ms. Grigwin?
I can't honestly add to it anymore, if I can get my light on.
Okay.
I honestly can't add any more than that as well.
So we will just let this go until the next meeting unless anyone has any questions. I know general things about strategic planning. I just don't know what his plan was for you guys.
So is there any questions or concerns you were having? I know we didn't know about him not being here today, so if you did have any comments, Member Whitish.
If we're going to save it for next meeting, can we possibly, I guess, just email any strategic initiative ideas that we have? So, if you want to tackle climate initiatives, then you just email that to, I would say, either Ms. Cosner or Ms. Griglin or Chair Aravallo, so that we can get a list compiled for next meeting for the backup material and then discuss them. Because we do have, a month in advance, and that gives people, plenty of time to think and be ready for next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a comment.
Ms. Griglin?
Thank you, Chair Arvell. Okay, so actually you bring up a good point when it comes to backup. I was gonna have this discussion later on, but now is the perfect time. So when it comes to backup material, I know that we're all able to email and speak freely amongst each other, but we all know sometimes emails can get overwhelming. Who is it coming from? When did it come in? Do I need to see this? I know that firsthand, I can tell you. So I think what we need to do moving forward, so that we have a smooth process and nobody can say that they missed anything, if you want to provide any backup material for any item that's on the agenda, or possibly is not an item on the agenda but you want to talk about and you want the rest of the council to see it, I need it the Monday before that Friday meeting. No exceptions. And I hate to put a hard, fast rule on it, but that's for various reasons. You have to be respectful to the chair who is doing her script. She wants her script to be run smoothly as well and not get caught up in the material. Well, if she doesn't have the material in front of her, she doesn't know how to do her script. Okay? And like I said, second of all, I think all backup material along with the agenda should come from one person, which at this point in the game is our chair. She knows that on the Wednesday at 4 p.m. before that Friday meeting, her responsibility is to send out all of the agenda and the backup material. So that's, once again, you're looking for one main email that you have then those 2 days to review before the meeting. And then second of all, I'm trying to avoid you guys having a stack of paper out there and killing the rest of the trees. Because if you guys get material this morning or this afternoon, maybe you had a job, or maybe you were someplace where you couldn't review the material. So now, unfortunately, you're coming to the meeting unprepared. And I don't want that to happen to you guys either. So I say moving forward that, I need the material the Monday before that Friday's meeting, and only send it to me. That way I know I'm the only person getting it, and I know who I need to distribute it to. And lastly, if you guys are getting the material all at the same time on Friday, no one can say, I didn't see the material, or I didn't, somebody got it before me. Everybody's on that same playing ground. Okay? Perfect.
Also, to go with that, a big thing, not even just for me, but for every member, is when you have those 2 days in advance with that backup material, you kind of know what we're going to talk about at the meeting. You know even further what you thought we were going to talk about at the meeting the last time. So if we have the backup material earlier, you'll be more prepared. And also, our meetings will probably go shorter because we're not trying to catch up and wonder what's going on right now. So it's very important for us, our backup material, to be timely. Sorry. Okay, so does everyone agree with pushing this to next meeting when Mr. Miserkowitz is here? Remember Little?
Was it said in the meantime we should email Ms. Griglin about the tasks, or I was sort of confused about that.
That would be up to Ms. Griglin. I just said it as a suggestion. It's whatever works for.
I was about to say, also, let's all agree that we are going to send our strategic initiative tasks or ideas, anything that we were coming up with when it comes to the strategic plan, send to Ms. Griglin. She'll compile it, and I'll put it in the backup material. So, the task, the to-do list that I'm going to keep sending out, it's going to have that on there, and it's going to say, you all need to come up with this many, at least one strategic initiative, and send it to Ms. Griglin. So we'll have that all set up, and I'll send it out so you guys remember. Okay, is there any more discussion, any more questions? Nope. Okay, now we'll go to item 10B, Youth Council Operations Discussion. At our last meeting, Member Whittish brought forward the idea of creating a Rules of Operations document for our council. The purpose of creating this was not to only help collect and organize our thoughts about how we would like to conduct our meetings because of the sunshine change, but to also have a clear document regarding the overall rules of our council. I'd like to turn the floor now to Member Whittish first to start the discussion about the creation process of this document and its current progress.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So at last meeting, it was designated that we would, create a document that would help us to define ourselves and help us to have something to go back to reference to when we have questions about our procedure, and just something to reference and something to have that defines who we are and what we do. And so from there, I essentially sent out an email over our city emails about 3 weeks before this meeting, I believe it was, assigning members to their sections to complete for it. We had our mission statement and purpose, jurisdiction and authority, members and duties, election of officers and appointed volunteers. Then we had motions and voting procedure, code of conduct, termination of members and vacancies, fundraising in the budget, and amendments. So we have a pretty packed piece here. It basically covers everything that we would ever have to run into, and all members worked very diligently, and I'm very proud of all of us for putting this together and having this ready for this meeting to review and to look over. All in all, it essentially, to explain again, it just defines us. It sets out the rules that we agree upon. It writes them down. It has them in place for reference in case anything happens. And it just gives us something to land on our feet when we come across challenges or when we come across issues. I don't know how we want to move forward. I don't know if we're going to be adopting it today or discussing it, amending it. I'm not sure how we would like to do that, but it is here for you now. This is the final draft. Of course, it's subject to amendments, but that's up to Madam Chair. So thank you.
Whittish?
Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
You're good.
I just want to make a keynote and point in before you guys start your discussion. Okay, so after reviewing some of the material in here, which, by the way, great job, doing it, Member Whittish. But what we have to go back, and that's why I kind of put it as part of your attendance records. I put the actual ordinance that was just recently adopted that changed us from under the sunshine laws to a fact finding. So some of the information in that ordinance, which you may not have availability to, will dictate some of the information that you've put as part of this document. Say, for example, if we shoot over to Article 3, the members and duties, We just have to tweak some of the words a little bit. Your second bullet point said there must be at least 2 members from each high school. That has changed. That has changed the verbiage and the language in here. So like I said, just something to think about. You know, we can certainly go through each one, make some notes on it, unless Cousin agrees or differently. I also think that it might be a good idea for Mr. Mazurkowitz to put his input on this, only because, you know, he's been in numerous roles, and some of the language I'm not comfortable, you know, speaking on. I mean, if it's truly in an ordinance, we can say, okay, yes, it's got to be this, you know, beyond that. And the only other thing that I saw very briefly, I didn't have a whole lot of time to go over it. The section where it talks about the elections, once again, it's just a key word where it says must be a senior, must be a junior. It doesn't have to be. We like to see that in the, you know, scenario, because I think it just helps the juniors prepare for the senior role, and it's nice having a member of each one. But like I said, that's merely just changing a word to, you know, we like it to be, it could be, but it's not a hard set, you know, fast rule that we need to done. Okay, so my only thing is, you know, like I said, since you probably didn't have a chance to take the ordinances, I would probably take the ordinances and put these 2 next to each other and just make sure that our language kind of matches these 2 moving forward. And at the same time, I think, you know, we can certainly discuss it today, but before we make that final vote, we do let Mr. Mazurkowitz weigh in on his thoughts.
My suggestion was going to be to table this until the next, at least the next meeting. It's really good work. I'm impressed with what you did, but there's a few things I think we should take a look at. I was gonna say have the city attorney's office look at it, but we can't do that anymore. So maybe Mr. Mazurkowitz would be the next best thing.
You would be the next best thing.
And yeah, there were a couple just like grammatical errors in here that need to be fixed, but, so yeah, I think we should just discuss at the next meeting.
Thank you, both Ms. Griglin and Ms. Costin. I agree fully with both of what you're saying. I actually sent the ordinance, not the ordinance, the operations to Mr. Mazurkowitz because he wasn't CC'd on the email. And he also said that he would like to put his intake in it because he said it was too, he said it was too formal. He said it was really good, it was just too formal, and that also goes with the language. So I agree that we should push this to next meeting. But again, like they both said, we did really good. I'm very proud of all of you. And it's just something that we have to work on. So my advice as well is to look at the ordinance. I know it's kind of fancy words, but take some time to look at the ordinance, write some notes down, figure out what you want to talk about, and we'll talk about it next meeting. Member Whitish.
Could we ask Mr. Mazurkowitz to do this? And if he can't, I could, but I could go back through it and like line by line with the ordinance and just fix all those changes that we need. Would that be something, or would like Mr. Mazurkowitz to do that? I mean, that's up to.
Well, you can certainly, what I would suggest is, like I said, go back, make your notes, so that when we do have the discussion, you'll have your points. But, right, I mean, obviously when Mr. Mazurkowitz, we'll do it together as a group. I mean, I don't expect you to have to rewrite it at all, but certainly make your points, because we might be adding or deleting other ones at the same time. That way, there's only one other copy that you have to go through.
So don't rewrite it, just, again, like I said, just put your little notes, and that goes for everyone. So read it and have your notes for next meeting. Is there any more discussion or questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll go to item 10C, Communications Director, Application Process and Discussion. At our last meeting, we discussed what changes we would like to add to both the responsibilities and the application process for our Communications Director, and appointed Member Bella to make necessary changes to the documents. As shown in the backup material provided by Member Bella, the responsibility changes we agreed on were: the Communications Director will be active on our social medias. The Communications Director will consistently network for funds for Youth Council. And then the application changes were: applicants must provide a portfolio of 1 or more items showing fun minimalistic work. Applicants must have experience in Canva and or Photoshop. Are there any discussions about the changes that Member Bella provided in the backup material? Member Bella, do you have any discussions about it?
Yeah, I just want to say that, obviously recommendations are open, even though I kind of like went with what we went along. But then as far as the application, I didn't do that. Besides, I saw your questions that you thought should be added to it. But besides that, I really don't think there needs to be anything changed because it didn't really follow along with the duties that we have to do. So I guess I also just have a question of, would you like me to add those changes to the application as
Yeah,
well?
Ms. Griglin, I remember seeing the application, right? Like it was like the interview questions, and I was expecting those, like a portion that says portfolio, insert here or whatever. That's what I was thinking, but I didn't see any application in the backup material.
So wait, I'm sorry, are you asking for the original application that was
Yeah, like I
distributed?
remember, yeah, when
Okay.
you distributed it, there was an application.
Right, it was a backup probably like
Yeah.
2 meetings ago. And I also sent an email too. So, yeah, I didn't think about putting the application. This is where, I mean, this is just me making a suggestion. Being that we won't have the city clerk anymore, my suggestion to you guys is make yourself maybe a folder and keep all of your backup documents. Between myself and the chair, we're gonna do our best to remember any backup material. But if it's, if you have everything in one folder or however you want to organize it, just so you be able to, click on your iPad, pull up that backup, and we're all seeing the same information, in regards to that. I mean, like I said, I remember sending out the email asking for any changes, so didn't even think about, reprinting it. But I mean, we can still go through it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was
it's,
just saying
it's
the
a
application-
simple,
Yeah.
application.
I was just gonna say, what I was thinking that came out of last meeting was she was going to change the responsibilities and the application, so it had that one portion in there, and then we could get,
Absolutely. I mean, we can add the duties and responsibilities and send it, put it together as the packet information so that way anybody who is looking at the application, they understand what they're getting into beforehand. Absolutely. I mean, we can bullet point that however you guys want to do it. Let's just, make sure that we get that information out.
sounds good.
Okay.
So, my question is, can you explain the interview and appointment process of the actual communications director?
Okay, so what we've obviously done in the past is similar to when, you guys have started. Once they send in the application, they would send it into myself now. We would put it on an agenda, we would put a time frame. I mean, obviously the good news is, we have 4 weeks usually now between meetings. So, if we decide tonight, this is how we want the application and the duties to be, then come Monday, we can start posting on our social medias. Now, the only problem we're running into is obviously school hasn't started. So it's hard to reach students out there. We can certainly do it on our social media pages, but once again, to get it filtered through the school, we're still waiting another 4 or 5 weeks before you guys even start. So like I said, we're kind of at a crossroad right now because we only have our social media pages to do it on, which is possible. I mean, maybe you guys can get the word out among friends, or maybe you guys know of a couple applicants already who would like to apply. That's fine too. So obviously, once we get all those applications, we'd put it on the next agenda. Basically, what we would do is we would ask them to come to this particular meeting, and they would, whatever questions you may have of them, or, maybe give them 5 minutes to 2-3 minutes to, explain why do they want to be on youth council, maybe what they can offer us, what kind of experience or skills, and then, be kind of a Q&A session we can do. And then obviously, you guys can take it from there and say at the next meeting, we would probably have to choose them. I mean, Unless you, because obviously, I mean, you can certainly have the discussion with them with here. I don't know if that's something you want to take on. It is very difficult to, to do that, but, I mean, I'm up for total suggestions as to how you guys wanna run the show.
Okay. Does anyone have any ideas of how we should go along with this? Member Bella?
So are we thinking of like inviting any possible applicants to show up with the application, or like fill out the application previously, send it to you, then invite them to come to a certain meeting?
Correct, so I'm gonna use a time frame. Let's just say Monday I send out the application, put it on our social media pages. We're gonna have an end date of, I have to have your application by August 1st. Then we would put it on whatever the August meeting date is. They would come in, do their interviews, and then my suggestion is you guys can take all of that information and then maybe at the next meeting choose them, or you can choose it at that meeting. It's up to you guys.
Well, first, I agree with sending that out, the applications now. I know waiting for the schools would be nice, but I know my school, a lot of people don't look at that type of stuff. They don't look at their Google Classrooms, Google Classrooms that often, so they're not going to really, like, there's a chance more people can see it, but I feel like if we just get it done now, it'll be easier, and I already have a couple people in mind that could possibly be our communications director. And if they're looking at social media, I feel like they would be good at social media as well, because if they're using their social media a lot, then they should be our communications director. So do we have any more comments and ideas? Member Whitish?
Yes, I think that we should absolutely put it out now. Possibly, I guess, I don't know if we're going to vote, but, have it done in place as soon as possible. But then I think for the process of when we, actually appoint them, I think that we should do it in one, I don't want to say I want to have it rushed. I want people to have time. But I think that it would work better if the application deadline happens, we all receive copies maybe our backup material, or even in just like its own email, we receive copies of their applications, we review it, then they have the opportunity to come and vouch for themselves at the mic, and then we vote that meeting. That would seem, in my opinion, a decent process.
Thank you. I also agree. I do think that discussing, like, if we should vote for them, I don't know. I feel a little wary, like Ms. Grigland said, like, talking about, oh, this person was better and this person was better, and voting on them while they're here, it's iffy for me. Remember Roman? Yes.
My fear also with voting right here is being biased with your own school. Especially if they're right there staring at you, you might feel bad because you're personal with them. So that might form a large issue with voting right here.
Because if we put the applications out now, we're already ahead of the game. Like, it's that we're not dragging it on if we wait another meeting to internalize the information, think about who really caught our eye, until next meeting we vote for them. I feel like that's just makes more sense to me. Member Whitish?
But then again, we can't, like, if they show up to the meeting that we're going to vote, we can't turn them away at the door so that we can remain, unbiased. They can still come in and watch the vote happen.
They can, and
right.
that's their choice. They're not,
right.
Yeah.
But I just think that, I'm worried about time. I mean, it really doesn't, I don't think it, makes a difference, but I think that, because there's a month in between meetings, so if they, come up and they speak and they talk to us, I'd want them in that position because, they might have other, conflicts, because beginning of the year, that's when your applications go out, that's when you join clubs, that's when you do this. So if we do it then and we don't wait a whole month, that gives us time to retain people, and, someone might have to withdraw because it's been a month and they've joined something else and they have new, a better opportunity. So if we want people to do this position, then I think we need to do it then and there.
And Member Anchetta?
What if we have this August meeting as a place for them to vouch for themselves and to speak for themselves, and then vote after the meeting, like in between meetings, and so we can have them there for the next September meeting?
I think we should vote with, I think we should vote in one of these meetings, because this is our professional meeting, this is our, they'll see it, if they don't come, they'll still know who won because we have YouTube and we have it live recorded. So I think that we should do it at one meeting. Going back to what Member Whittish was saying, the one thing that I also agree with voting for them at the August meeting would be, again, the time constraints, because I would like flyers to be sent out already. If we're doing our projects and we're getting them ready soon, we would want the flyers to be sent out soon. So I agree with Member Whittish on that point. Member Little.
Not to mention, if we vote at the meeting, it's still very fresh in our minds. And I believe it was Member Roman that said there might be bias. I feel like no matter what, there's going to be bias, and we have to just accept that's going to be a thing.
Member Negron, did you have something to say?
I was just gonna agree with what Member Anchetta said a little bit, that like we see them all at once in one place, and then once everyone's done, then we vote then and there, so we have them for the next meeting.
Yeah, that's what Whittish is saying. Anchetta was saying to have a separate meeting, like in between August and September.
Like a special meeting?
Yeah, like a special meeting. So we would have to go through and figure out a date that would be okay with city chambers for us to come here and to just do a random vote. So, Member Whittish?
I mean, just to, piggyback, like, yeah, it's, we don't, as much as, the past council voted to have, one meeting per month, in between that is a lot of time. That's, time that we take to work on our projects. That's what we do. That's our time. And we need to have someone working with us, off the bat. Once the school year starts, that's when things really start moving for us. We tend to reflect, our effort tends to reflect, what's going on with school, things like that. So we need all the help we can get. And I think the August meeting is the time to vote. That's just, yeah.
So I think we all agree with we should put the applications out now. Does anyone disagree with that? No. Okay. Vice Chair Garcia.
So I've heard a couple of people. I do agree with Whittish. My biggest point on why I agree is the time restraint. But what people were saying about Chair Revel, you mentioned that you were wary of us voting and them being right in front of us. I think that I don't know if we want to come up with some sort of like structure on how we should discuss it at the meeting. I don't know because we have to be professional, right? We can't just say like, well, they turned this in as a portfolio, but this isn't that good. So let's choose that person. That ruins the morale of the other person and sets a bad look for the youth council, right? So I think that we need I don't even know, like we have to either come up with like a structure on like what we should avoid saying, words that we should avoid saying, and just something like that. Just a bit of a cover just to not be so harsh, make sure that we are professional and respectful towards those people, if there's one person or if there's 10 people, so.
Ms. Costin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At city council meetings, let me tell you how we do this, because it is tough for us too. We have some boards and committees, and we appoint people, just like you're talking about doing. And it can be very uncomfortable for us. I know personally, I voted against a friend of mine to be on a committee, and that was very difficult. And of course, you do have some bias. But I think it's important that you don't have to talk, and we don't always talk about our reasons for voting, and which I think is the right thing to do, because it can be hurtful to make, criticisms of people. But what we do is we just go down the line and say who we want. You don't have to talk about why. So that doesn't have to be an issue. I would strongly suggest that you have the vote the same time you do the interviews, even with the people in the room, because that's commonly how it's done.
Thank you. Okay. Member Whittish?
Just to think about it, that's how what Ms. Costin just said, that's how we were appointed, right? We were appointed, I know myself and Member Mazurkowitz, who's not here, we were in the room when we got our appointments. We were there to see it, and that's just, that's not to say it, for lack of better words, that's how it goes, right? If they're going to be working for us as much as, you know, they're going to be not on the council, we're still on the same playing field as them. They're going to be helping us. We're going to be helping them. You know, it's only, in my mind, it's only right if they're there to see their vote. And, you know, it's against, we say a pledge of civility, you know, at the start of these meetings. So it's against it. It's against our values if you're going to sit up here and if you're going to say something, you know, personally negative about a person. So that's kind of already cleared. So if you're going to be biased, then that's, you know, that technically goes against what we stand for anyways. And I don't think that any of us are going to be biased. But yeah, I think that the vote should just happen right there. And also, if we're going to create a separate structure, you know, for voting, that could take time. Like, you know, we have to make sure there's a secure Google form, a secure this and that. You know, we'll vote right here. We'll take a tally and yeah.
Member Muncy?
I agree with Member Whitish. If we do find it necessary to have a discussion on the matter while they're in the room, I don't think we need a separate structure. We just be mindful of what we say. I mean, we know how to conduct ourselves. We're young individuals. We're on the council, so I really don't think a structure is necessary. Just, you know, if there's a discussion, be respectful.
Yes. Vice Chair Garcia, did you have anything to say? I know you raised it. Okay. Member Duperron?
If I can add something, I think what we should do is all be prepared to come to vote in the August meeting. And then if there is a necessary thing to have a discussion, in that case, we just need to be like mindful of what we speak instead of just throwing out like negative comments and just focus on why we think one person should get the position.
I think what I'll do is we won't have a discussion, but if I feel that there needs to be a discussion, or one of you obviously feel there needs to be discussion, raise your hand like you usually do, and I will, what is that called? Recognize you. So, yeah, so let's just do a vote, a roll call vote. I believe that's how that works. And vote for the one communications director. I think that's how we should structure how we vote. Does everyone agree with that at the August meeting? Okay. So we'll put out the applications on Monday. Ms. Strickland, would you please do that?
So absolutely, and I will go through, because you have to remember, when I did send out the applications, we did have a city clerk involved. So I will go through the application to make sure that everything references me now. So once again, just like anything else, use me as a point of contact, so only one person is getting all the same information, and then I know how to distribute it appropriately. But what I do need you to do today is, if you want a list of duties and responsibilities to attach to the application, obviously I have to have that today. I mean, you guys can come up with the bullet points, somebody can take down the information and just email it to me.
Would we like to use the one that we already created, unless anyone has any changes?
Right, I mean, you have two that were provided, Chair Aravella did and Member Bella, so you guys had it as backup material to review, so.
So the ones that I added, I brought them to last meeting and I talked about them, and I added them to what Member Bella put it on the responsibilities and roles. So if anyone has any changes right now, let Member Bella know, so we can add it and then vote for it to be on our responsibility. So does anyone have any discussion? Member Bella?
So obviously I changed the duties and responsibilities, and I think that we should use that document to attach to the application. But Chair Revelo, the questions that you added, I didn't change the application at all. So that's my only concern.
What I was saying is, at last meeting, I just sent that to Ms. Grigland because I believe that we were all going to send what we wanted. So we all had like a visual view of what we all thought, but I was the only one who did it. But what I talked about at the meeting, and I asked you to put the changes in, and I remember I reviewed your responsibilities. I said that was all perfectly fine because my changes were added in there. Like, everything I said was, unless I changed it during the meeting, I was like, okay, let's not put that. It's all in there. So I'm perfectly fine with it.
So the question application that they need to fill out, that was unedited from, that we used last year.
Yeah.
That's good to go. I just want to make sure that's good for Ms. Gerglin. If
Yeah, the
everyone's okay with that.
questions. So my question was the portfolio part.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
to add the portfolio into it, but could you edit that yourself, Ms. Gerglin? Or,
Because now we're not talking about the responsibilities, now we're talking about the application. That's
The
what she's
application
talking about.
itself,
Yes.
Okay, so what do we need to change on the application?
So, Chair Revelo submitted 2 questions that was in the backup material.
Okay, yep, I see them. How
And-
do you plan to increase public attendance?
Yes.
Okay, and then the third question was, how do you plan to help publicize and raise funds for fundraisers put together? Those are the 2 questions that you want included with the duties and responsibilities and the application. So I'm gonna have 3 separate docs. Am I correct in saying that?
I think those questions should be added onto the application document.
Okay, so
Yeah, the
add those 2
application.
questions onto the actual, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And as well as a question saying like, submit your portfolio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if they have a portfolio.
If they
I don't
have.
want them to feel like they have to submit one because you might lose some, just putting it
Yeah.
out there. I mean, it's up to you guys. You might lose a candidate who doesn't have a portfolio maybe set up. I would think that, I could be wrong, it's been a long time since I've been in school. Right, you know, that's actually a very good word. Maybe I can put optional, if you guys are okay with it, because once again, I would just hate to lose somebody because they think that that's a requirement.
Member Garcia.
And you don't think maybe instead of like that we could put an example of your work?
Sure.
Because then like we get to see, because if they don't have a portfolio, then we are kind of going into it blind based off of what they've written.
So we
and
just,
not
we
really
kind of
their
want to
design.
see something that they've accomplished.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so now I get it, all right, so submit will work. Okay. All right, I can make that happen.
So, yes.
Sorry, may I?
You're good.
Ms. Greglin, what will be the deadline date for the application, or do you want to look at the calendar and see? And
So,
when's our August meeting?
so our August meeting is August the 11th, so it's exactly 4 weeks to the date. So my suggestion, if we give them 3 full complete weeks, if I send it out on July 17th, I would say that Monday, August 7th. Is that enough time for you guys?
Reasonable.
Okay? That gives them, you know, time to, you know, put together whatever they need to put together. You know, maybe they, like you said, maybe they do have other work or portfolios, but, you know, they want to clean it up, whatever, nice. And at the same time, you know, because there is no school, that'll give you guys time to, whatever you guys use for social media, to get the word out. Okay?
Yes, sounds good.
Okay.
Is anyone opposed to having August 7th be the due date for the applications? No. Okay, so we have we have that we'll put out the applications this coming Monday.
Mm-hmm.
We will review the applications on and after August 7th.
Mhm.
And then at the Friday Youth Council meeting on the 11th of August, we will vote for our new communications director. Does that all sound correct? Do we need to talk about anything else?
No, I think we hit on all the key points. I mean, we have all the dates. Like I said, obviously, if I'm leaving it open till Monday, August 7th, that is the end of the business day. So once I get in on Tuesday and I can compile them, I will send it out together as a group. So that'll be like usually the one and only, like I said, I like to include everything as backup, but since this will be a lot of reviewing for you guys, this will be the one exception where I will send out the additional backup material that's, you know, not related to the agenda portion that the chair will send out. Okay?
Sounds good. Does anyone have any discussions or questions about this topic? Seeing none, we will now go to item 10D, Senior Project Continued Discussion. At our last meeting, our seniors decided to create a new project for this year's senior project that consists of an Adopt a Road cleanups. Members were tasked with coming up with the finer details and plans about possible ways to conduct such project cleanups. Therefore, I'm opening the floor to discussion to hear about any ideas you guys have planned for this project. Member Bella?
So my idea, which I believe came from last meeting, but just to kind of pick a couple of dates, collectively as a group that we can find time to go to the road that we adopted and to clean it up and set up. And that can be either, maybe not after a meeting because we'll be in like fancy clothes, but just kind of do that, and also post it and open it up to the public. So it's a job that we do, not only us helping out, but open it up so it includes the community.
I agree with both of those in the sense that we'll open it to the community, meaning that my overall plan was kind of to have each one of our members to bring another person that's outside the council. I think that would be very important. And my plan kind of was to have two groups, split our council up into two groups, and have 2 dates of each month where we go out and clean our adopt a road. So it would be kind of more consistent than just picking dates, but we can also, of course, still pick the dates. The consistency being what day we would like to do it. Obviously, we wouldn't really want to do it after a meeting. We could do it a Saturday or a Sunday, depending on your guys' availability or the community's availability. But yeah, my overall plan was to also pick dates and invite our community. Does anyone have any discussion? Okay. So I'm just going to keep going further. What kind of dates are you guys thinking of? Do you guys want a Saturday? Do you want a Sunday? I want to hear some discussion. Member Negron.
I think Sundays would be better because a lot of people have stuff going on Saturdays all day, especially now that we're all, working and stuff. A lot of people do work on Saturdays. Sundays, not as much happens, and we might be able to get more people from the community as well, because most people do fun stuff on Saturdays.
Member Widish?
I understand that, but can we make it, if it's going to be Sunday, not Sunday mornings for, religious purpose concerns?
That's also
Yeah.
what I was thinking of Sundays. Vice Chair Garcia?
So I think that we should have it alternating maybe. I don't know if that would get too confusing, but I know, like, just for example, my family, we wouldn't go out like on a Sunday for anything. That's what we do. And I know a lot of people that are also like that. Sunday is more like for a lot of people, it's more of like a family group time than going out and doing whatever time, and a lot of people are off on Sunday, so they like to take that off. So I think that we should alternate it between Sunday and Saturday.
I personally don't agree with alternating Sundays and Saturdays. I feel like it'd just be more consistent if we have it Saturday, the 1st of the month, Saturday, the 3rd of the month, or Sunday if we choose Sunday. But that is a decent idea. Member Little, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, I do want to know how long do we expect this to last as well? Because I think that's important when we talk about timing.
Well, we come up with that. So how long would we like, when would we like to start it? We'll get to that after Member Widish puts his discussion.
I think Saturday mornings are typically your sweet spot. Like, I know, like, coastal cleanups, like, Keep Lee County Beautiful. I know, like, practices, like, Saturday morning is going to be your time because, school's in session all, and no one, we have to give time for homework, of course, after school. And then, Sunday for religious purposes, and I know some people observe different, things. So I think Saturday morning is our time to do it because you also want to avoid heat. Saturday mornings are usually, morning times are going to obviously be less hot than, mid-afternoon. So if anything, Saturday morning.
Any more discussion before? Yep. Member DePerrin?
I think Saturdays morning would be a good time, except like we said before, a lot of like other different things going on Saturdays, and I know Saturday mornings there could also be like other volunteer events in the community, so I'm not sure if like those times specifically every single month will have the most availability for everyone.
Yeah, it's inevitable for everyone to come to something. But going back to what Little was saying, when do we want to start this project? Do we want to start it in September? Do we want to start in October? I feel like we shouldn't drag it along, but maybe we should think of 2 days in September, October. What are we thinking? A start time. Mirabella?
I'm trying to think realistically, does like time to be able to promote it and stuff? As like, if we want to promote it, we obviously need a communications director. So maybe if we do it 2 times a month, the 2nd September could be our like goal date. Not to push it to late September, but I think
That's
it's
fine
just
with me. I think September, pushing it to maybe the 1st of October. I think October would be the in time of when we would want to start. So maybe September. What are you guys thinking? September or October? Can I see a raise of hands for September? When we should start this? Okay. So September, we would have to start the actual project. So 2 dates in September.
Chair?
Yes.
If I may interject, I think it's a wonderful idea that you want to do it twice a month, but I also am involved in that. So I am going to respectfully ask that you choose 1 day a month. I have to agree more on the side of the Saturday. Sunday is just a huge family day. And I just don't think it's right to ask the public of that. I understand Saturday mornings are busy. I'm right there with you, so I'm taking a Saturday away. I'm not complaining about it, but I'm taking a Saturday away to do other stuff to help you guys out. Totally fine with that. I've signed up for that, but you need to be respectful when it comes, if you're going to do the public, and we have to be careful with the public too. I don't have a problem, but you guys have to understand, we are together as a group doing it out there, so we are representing the city of Cape Coral. If you are going to get friends, families, whatever, there's going to be hold harmless agreements for everyone to sign. I can't take anyone along with us because if something, God forbid, happened, there's that liability portion. So once again, we can bring people with us, but you're talking each and every time. I mean, they only need one form on file if they want to help us all the time and they want to get hours out of it. That's fine, but it's their responsibility to keep up with those hours, and then they would have to email me. So we have to think of the steps, behind it. I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem, but I think a couple of you were here. We used to meet at the youth center, and then a bus would take us to the gas station area. I'm going to assume that's still available, but it's been so long, I'm going to have to find out if that's an option for us. If that's not an option, then, we just have to take our cars. Well, we don't want to take too many cars because I'm sure the gas station guy over there wouldn't be happy if he saw a trail of cars. So there's just a lot of things that we want to, keep in mind. We can make it happen. We've done it before. We did it for numerous times. But we have to logically just, be respectful of everything. My suggestion is, especially if you're going to get the community involved, if you keep it on the first Saturday or the second Saturday, people are going to remember that, okay? So I would suggest whatever Saturday, and once again, I know that we have 13, eventually we'll have 14 members. Doesn't mean all 14 members have to be there. If 7 of you, 6 of you can at least come, because like I said, that mile will go fast. And we like the buddy system. You have 2 people, one's doing the grabbing, the other one's putting the bag, switch off. So, even if we only had 6, I think that's reasonable. 2 on each side, 1 down the median. So it's doable. So if you're not going to be available, then, fine. Then make sure that your other members can do it. But I would suggest you stick to define what day you want, whatever week it is on a Saturday. And once again, with the heat, absolutely, it's got to be early, You guys get up early for school, I get up early for work. There's no reason we can't be out there by 7:30. Knock it out an hour and a half, guess what? You're back home by 9:30. So.
Thank you, Ms. Griglin, for all the important information. So piggyback off of what Ms. Griffin was saying is we should have it once a month. I now agree with you, obviously, because you're Ms. Griglin, and but also because I feel like it could be a roadblock, obviously, with having the community with us. But if we do it once a month, which we're going to, it could be easier. They get more time to put the forms in. So I think that we should still encourage the forms, and we'll do that. But it'll be easier if we have it once a month. Saturdays, can I see a raise of hand who wants Saturdays as our project dates? Okay. Sundays, does anyone? No. Okay. So Saturdays once a month, a Saturday. Vice Chair Garcia.
I have a couple questions for Ms. Griglin. So you've been to the Adopt-A-Roads in the past,
Yes.
correct? Okay, so how long were those typically, and do you think that we should change that time? Like, was it 30 minutes? Was it an hour, 2 hours?
Typically, it took us, I mean, if we were fast and, not, I mean, you could do it in an hour. I mean, it's only a mile stretch. And the thing is, you have to remember, the first couple times we're going to go out there, we haven't done it in months. You're definitely going to have a lot more garbage. But as we do it and pick up more and more, and if you do it once a month, it's going to fly by even faster. So, I mean, I've always told them to, expect 2 hours getting there and doing it and back. We can easily do that mile stretch in 2 hours.
Okay. And then I had one more thing, what was it? I forgot, but I do have another thing. So, now I remember. Okay, so I'm looking at the calendar on my phone. So it was muttered somewhere, I forget who said it, but someone said the end of September, something like that, right? Okay, so choosing our communications director, that would be on August 12th would be our meeting. So our communications director would have to start on that flyer that evening or the day after so that we have enough, traction on the event to talk about that. So the days available in September would be the 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th. So I think that we again, end of September, 16th, 23rd, or 30th would be our best dates to start to get more time.
I was confused at first of what you were talking about, but I agree now because I'm looking at the calendar.
Yeah, sorry, if you don't have a calendar up, it was hard to follow me along. I have my calendar up here,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Member Muncy?
So piggybacking off what Vice Chair Garcia said, Ms. Griglin, you mentioned that kids can get hours for volunteering. So can we make a note somewhere that the communications director writes that down on their flyer or whatever they put out just to kind of incentivize involvement?
Sure, absolutely.
I'm writing that down too, so. So like Vice Chair Garcia was talking about, we should think about the date because if we are going to have our communications director on August 11th, but they won't start basically working until September 8th. We'll tell them that we need the flyers this date on September 8th. So to give the public enough time to plan, if we do September 30th, our communications director will have time to make the flyers and we'll be able to send them out. We either do September 30th, but if we did do October, we would have to do October 7th. So what are we thinking? Keeping it September and doing the 30th? I don't think we should do the 23rd. I feel like that's a little too early, but the 30th works a little bit better. Member Feichballer?
I think September 30th is a good idea.
Yes. Let's raise some hands. Do we agree with September 30th for our first project? Okay, great. So I'm putting in the calendar, Saturday, September 30th. We're doing mornings. About what time are we thinking? What time are we thinking? Member Woodish.
Say 8 a.m. is probably a good time, and then we said 2 hours, so 8 to 10. Like, because like also gives you the rest of the day for other events if you have to. I think early morning is decent, but I don't know. I'm an early riser, so I'm not. Everyone else might not be, so that's just me.
Vice Chair Garcia.
So, I agree with Whitish. Yes, agree. I am also more of a morning person, but I'm thinking of my colleagues and my friends and my peers. And on a Saturday, I don't think we're going to get too many people to come out on at 8 a.m. But maybe I was thinking 10 to noon.
Say something?
I'm
Yes,
not sure.
Ms. Costa.
I just want to remind you all that we're in record-breaking heat, and it'll probably be like that still in September. And the earlier the better. I've done trash pickups before, and you don't want to be out in the heat. Even though it's early, you're still more comfortable. So that's my suggestion.
Member Frechtel.
I think that Member Woodish and Garcia both bring up very good points. So I think a good compromise would be around 8:30, maybe 8:45 if we want to be a little later.
Member Garcia.
I honestly feel that 8 a.m. is not that early, especially considering, like they had mentioned, we wake up, 5 in the morning for school? So I think that getting out at 8 in the morning should be fine, and if you're not a morning person, you could show up. I mean, could we do that in intervals where maybe some people show up later?
It's hard because we're already in the process. What time do you guys start school?
August 10th.
7, okay. So I'm shooting for 7:30. I'm giving you guys an extra half an hour than what you need to, trust me.
You guys have to be mindful. Miss Griglin is the one there
It
taking
is,
you guys.
yes,
It's
and
not-
I'm old.
It's not you guys meeting her somewhere. It's her taking you. You guys are meeting at the youth center. Y'all are getting on a vehicle. So
Correct.
So do you not agree with 8?
So I'm kind of pushing for 7:30.
Oh, okay.
Trust me, it's gonna get hot out
it's
there.
gonna be hot.
And you got these plastic bags that are clinging to you. I really think it should be 7:30. And like I said before, it's great and dandy if we get the community involved. I would love to see it. But whether you start at 7, 7:30, 8, you're gonna dictate to the community what we would like to see for them. I understand you want to be, but trust me, they're early birds too. I'm up at 5, not by choice, but I'm up at 5. So I for various reasons, like I said, especially the heat out here, I would suggest the 7:30 start time. And like I said, if we keep up with it and our residents know, it's going to get much easier as you tell more and more of the residents. And we say, 7:30, great, they're out before that sun. I'm more than willing to help. They're not going to come out at 10 o'clock when the sun is beating down on us. It's not going to happen. You're going to see more movement in the morning than you are. And then once again, you have your whole Saturday. Nobody can tell me that because you did adopt a road between 7:30 and 9:30, that you didn't have time to do whatever you want in the afternoon, your evening date, your evening movies, it's all still available to you. Yes.
No, I would have to agree very much so now with this new wave of new lifestyle that they've been implementing on the youth, where you wake up early, you eat healthy, you get in workouts, especially
Absolutely.
people who like early birds, like you said. And I also believe that there's a lot of adults that, again, wake up really early out of custom. Like my father, on weekends, Saturdays, he doesn't work, but he wakes up 7 in the morning and he's doing things.
How often do you guys see people walking their dogs, riding their bike? I mean, I can't tell you how many I pass on the way to work, and that's between 7 and 7:30. A lot.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. And then mentioning what you had said, the evening sun, that if we did do 10 to noon, that's actually when the sun is at its highest from 11 to 3, so we would be getting some of the worst heat if we did implement those hours for our
I just did a painting project. I did a mural, and I was under a tent. It started at 9 a.m., and I had a headache the rest of the day. I was there until 12, and I wanted to cry. It was horrible. I'd painted great, but it was so bad. And I agree with 7:30. Like, I can't be in the heat anymore. Member Woodish.
So we get to the the place where we meet to go to the site at 7:30. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what.
Miss Grenlin, they highlighted the point that she will be taking us. We will not be meeting her there.
I was asking we're meeting you at the point to.
So, right, we would
okay.
meet at the youth center at
Okay.
7:30. The bus, if I could, hopefully could still a bus, which I'm sure is still an option, get the bus, and it is literally 2 minutes down the road at the gas station that's at Chevron, at Santa Barbara and Pine Island Road. We take like I said, you take the two sides of the medians. I usually go down the middle just to make it safe for everybody. We usually have buddy partners, and we walk halfway point, which is to that, if that animal hospital is still there, I hope it's still there. That was usually our halfway point. The gentleman, or obviously the lady who drove us there, had a cooler of water for us. We'd sit down, take a 5-minute break. You don't want to take too long of a break, and get back, finish the last half of it, which gets us down to Santa Barbara and Tropicana, and then that's where the bus picks us back up.
So 7:30 is the start time, not just doing the pickup. It's to get there. Vice Chair.
I just had a really quick question. How did you dispose of the garbage?
So we have an agreement. When we get to the end of Tropicana, we just basically leave our bags there and at the halfway point, and then I make arrangements with Waste Pro to come pick them up. We just have to drag the bags to the halfway point, and then the second halfway point, and that's it. You're done. You get back on the bus, and we're on our merry little way.
Member Woodish.
I don't want to question our philosophy or make it too of a complicated question, but the trash that we pick up, does it go to a community initiative or does it just go to the trash and it goes to a landfill?
It just goes to the landfills.
Okay, so.
Oh yeah, Covanta.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Oh.
It could go to energy.
Yes. It depends on what Waste Pro and Covanta want. So, yeah. Member Feichthaler.
Going back to the start time, I think 7:30 is good, but I want to make sure during the winter months we're not starting in the dark. So as long as it's not dark out at 7:30, then I think it's a good start time.
And absolutely, I mean, when it comes winter time, if we need to adjust the time at that point, then fine, we can certainly adjust it.
I agree. Member Bella.
I have 2 questions. Just should we, if we do still want to invite to the public, should we say 7:45 so nobody arrives before we get there?
Or even 8.
Yeah. Like I said, it's going to be hard if they don't meet us there at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because then, I don't want us to wait either 10, 15 minutes because somebody's supposed to be meeting us there. I would suggest that they all meet at the center at 7:30. That way we know we're all taking off together. If we've got room on the bus and they want to leave their car there, that's fine. Or they can take their own car to the gas station. I'm just also being respectful, the gas station, I'm sure attendant doesn't mind a car or two, but he's not going to be happy if all of his spaces are filled up and he starts seeing us pull out, with our vests and every once in a while, like, who are these people? So once again, there's not a big parking area at the gas station. So if they're going to join us, my suggestion is they need to start at the Austin Center. Hopefully we have enough room on the bus where they can just leave their car there and we're all going together. Okay?
Even the volunteers from the public would
Well,
be
the
going on bus?
volunteers, I would suggest maybe we tell them, 7:40. We're going to start at the corner and then, if they're there, great. If not, then, we'll just start moving along. And I mean, if we see them, obviously we could certainly stop and, we'll have the materials with us. So, but yeah, we can definitely say 7:40 and they could just, meet us at that location.
And then also, do you know, what is the youth center called? I'm just trying to figure out where it is.
William B. Austin, right?
Yes, William B. Austin. It's by Sunsplash.
Yeah,
in
do
the
you know
bowling
where
alley.
the bowling alley is? What's that bowling
the-
alley?
Tropical
Putt,
breeze,
putt.
chockable breeze,
Oh, they
tropical
changed it now?
breeze.
But now it's Bolero. But you know where the putt-putt
Tropical
golf
breeze.
and tropical breeze
Breezes,
is?
yeah.
It's behind there.
It's literally the
You know where the
next street.
skate park is?
No.
Yep,
No?
there's a
It's right
skate
next
park
door.
and a park, yep.
There's a skate park. It's right next door.
I know.
I know. You
Okay.
guys should go there. I don't work there, but you should go there.
I think we should also, like, when we have the flyers, put where the Adopt a Road is. So in case, in the event that someone doesn't make it on the bus, they know where to go. I feel like that
Exactly.
could be easily fixed.
Correct.
Member Negron?
Fike Fowler mentioned winter months. How long were we thinking of doing this project for?
Great leadway.
Every month.
I think we should, yeah, I think we should just continue it until we see fit,
Graduate.
like until the end of our term.
Yeah, it should,
Yeah.
it should go the term that our terms are.
Yeah, and if our junior members want to continue it, not as a senior project obviously, but they can continue it next year. But yeah, we'll keep doing it until the end of our term. Vice Chair.
So, in my school, JRTC does Adopt a Roads once a month. So I've done probably more than 15 to 20 Adopt a Roads in my life. And they tell us no picking up cigarettes, broken bottles, even if they're not broken, anything glass, beer bottles, drugs, vapes, whatever. We didn't have to sign anything. They were just kind of like, we trust you guys to not pick it up, but we don't know the people that are coming in, so do we want to have them sign anything? Like you mentioned the holds agreement or something like
Anybody, even you guys, I will need a whole harmless agreement from everyone.
that? Okay, so do we think it's even necessary to have them sign something like that? Because we don't necessarily know who's going to be there, you know? I don't have any.
Yeah, they're gonna sign the day of.
Yeah, I mean, if they want, you guys will have the forms in advance. If they want to get me the forms in advance, that's fine. But if they show up without one, they'll have to sign it in front of me. Otherwise, I cannot allow them to walk with us.
Okay.
I don't think we should have a separate form. I feel like we all should just know to tell them, don't pick up this, don't pick up that. I feel like I don't think we need another form because they're going to have to use that form as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've never, honestly, I've never, in the 2-3 years that we've done it, we've never had any issues. You know, if you're out there, and I'll tell you guys the same thing that I've always told the group, you know, just be careful out there, you know, watch, you know, and that's another thing that I forgot to mention, you know, the earlier we start too, you have less traffic. You know, you're on a major road over there. You're not as major as Pine Island, but that area is definitely building over there. So there are going to definitely be a lot of cars flying by us. So, you know, I tell everybody, you know, do not go close to the edge. You know, if you're iffy about picking something up, you know, you're not picking it up with your hands, you're picking it up with a grabber. But if you don't feel comfortable picking up, then don't pick it up and just move on.
How are we getting the supplies?
The city used to supply them. Once again, I'll have to go back. If not, then it'll have to come from the youth council budget.
I just want to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly.
Yep, something to put in mind, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any more discussion? I feel like we made a lot of progress today. I'm gonna kind of try to go back and say almost everything. If I don't, sorry. But September 30th will be our first Adopt a Road. It will be at 7:30 for the public, 7:40, so they get there on time. And then that will be at the, do you have anything to say?
No.
Okay. It will be at the youth center. We'll meet at the youth center, William B. Austin Youth Center, next to Tropical Breeze. I'll send out a bunch of stuff, don't worry. But this is just for me to recap, make sure I have everything. It'll be about 2 hours. We agreed about 2 hours, an hour and a half. That will be a Saturday, it'll be a morning. And yes, we'll have the communications director make flyers. We will tell them on our Friday meeting in September 8th. And we talked about the Waste Pro getting the bags and disposable. And that's all I got. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to the next item. Item 10E, Junior Project Continue Discussion. At our last meeting, our juniors decided to create a citywide clothes drive for the junior project. We appointed member Mazurkowitz and Vice Chair Garcia to help research places like thrift stores that would be willing to donate clothes to our council for the drive, and contact For Freedoms about having a potential clothing drive there. I will now open the floor to hear from both of them. Since member Mazurkowitz is not here, Vice Chair Garcia, take the floor and give us any updates you have.
Yes, so I printed out a paper. It's not in my folder anymore. I don't know what happened to it, but it's okay. I have it on my phone. So first of all, Mia Mazurkowitz, she put together this beautiful, beautiful plan that I could tell that she put a lot of hard work into this. So unfortunately, even though she's not here, I don't know if she's watching this, but she did a fantastic job. It's very detailed. So what I'm going to be reading off is member Mazurkowitz's plan, and then what we kind of decided. So it starts off with the tentative plan and schedule. So clothing drive occurring at the end of September is what she thought. So does that sound all right with everyone? Okay, so let's see. So from August 10th through early September, we advertised the clothing drive through a flyer or the communications director to schools through a mass email. And at the beginning of August, we can also reach out to local places and ask for donations, such as Goodwill, Clothes Mentor, local thrift stores, stuff like that. So I want to interject. So I did some research, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought that places like thrift stores and Goodwill, they get their products for free. So it's going to be very difficult to, and I looked it up, I try to find places, and they won't give away their materials for free. So I don't know if we are planning on buying it. I was looking just to get it for free for the event. So what I was thinking was that, why don't we make this kind of like a community is helping community event, where we set up the city hall as the drop-off place for it. And to me, if we advertise it as your community is helping your community, and then we are the one like facilitating it, I feel like that it sends out a message that we are trying to connect parts of the community with other parts of the community. So that was something that I thought of. And another way we can advertise it on our social media is the communications director can advertise it. Another thing is that I know on the Cape Coral website, that's another thing I'll mention later, but on the Cape Coral website, I know for Flag Day, they had, when you opened up the website, it had like a little banner at the bottom that said Flag Day, and there was a presentation here at City Hall. Maybe we can have something like that running through September, September, October, whenever. So that's just what I was thinking.
Member Garcia?
No, I think that's a wonderful idea. I did think that this was something that we were going to be able to donate to already. I was actually going to ask you about the drop site, because we had previously discussed that, where you said you would establish one that would be here, because I already do have some donations, like bags. Because I do know that there's a lot of people, especially like cleaning out their wardrobe and stuff. So I thought that's what we were originally going to do. Can we establish that maybe?
So if that's the route that you guys want to take, absolutely. I can take the next step into finding out. I know we've had food drives before, where they have literally had it inside of City Hall. Like if you've ever come into City Hall, like right across from like where the police officers. So I'm sure that would be another option. I can certainly find out for you guys if that's the option you want to take. I like the idea of putting it out there for a whole month, and then what we decide to do from there. At least you'll have, I think, what I consider probably a decent amount where you'll be able to distribute it, if there are multiple schools involved, or however you guys want to do it. But I think that's a great idea, and I can certainly move forward with it if that's the route you're asking to take.
Ms. Costa?
Thank you. Just to be clear, Ms. Griglin, do you think there's enough storage space? I mean, what if we collect a lot of clothing?
Well, I think if we'd have to have, a backup plan where, I don't know, nightly we remove the clothing. So that would be another point that I'd have to find out. Like, we wouldn't let it just stack up for the whole month there.
Right.
At the end of each night, maybe I'd have to walk over and put it in a separate closet or something of
really
that
big.
nature. Right.
So I used to work for a charity where we did this event where we collected clothes. We sold them, but it all went back to charity. And people really like to donate clothing. So I think maybe you need to think about how much just volume you're going to be dealing with if it's the same.
One idea I had was not just to do it at City Hall, but also the Youth Center, Four Freedoms, multiple city facilities. So it's not just a lot of people know where the City Hall is, so they're going to resort to that. But I think we have other places as well. It'd be easier, but city facilities is the easiest to
My
route to.
suggestion would be either chair or one of the rest of you, one of you, email the other facilities. So Lake Kennedy, the Youth Center, Special Pops, Four Freedoms. We all have storage areas. We all don't have huge storage areas, but we can all be a donation site. So if you do that, I'm sure they will all jump on.
Member Muncy?
So obviously, Member Mazurkowitz put this together before we decided on a date for the Adopt a Road, this meeting. But the problem I see with what she had was the end of September, and I wouldn't want us to overload ourselves having two projects very close together at the end of September because we've decided on September 30th. And another thing is with the mass email, as we addressed previously in the meeting, emails get lost. So the mass email is something that we can send out, but I think there needs to be something more. Maybe, I don't know if it would be possible to have us visit schools and talk with administration about the project.
Absolutely. Once you guys are in school, I would definitely reach out to your counselors or however, you guys communicate nowadays. And absolutely, that's definitely another avenue to be able to get the word out.
Mm-hmm. We have representation in multiple schools, but not every school.
Correct.
So could we appoint members to go and visit schools that we don't have representation for?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I agree. I also, before I recognize another member, I think the date issue, I think we should push it to October. Just so we have the communications director as well to do the flyers, because for the senior project, it's kind of easier. We tell people, we have this date, can you come? It's easier for the community. But when it comes to donations, we have to sort those donations. We need more time to actually collect that stuff. So I think moving it possibly to October, sometime like that, just kind of theorize a date. Maybe not set a date right now, but when it comes to, she didn't think that we were going to have that problem. So, Member Garcia.
I do have two questions. One of them being, is this going to be a one-day event where we compile a bunch of inventory and then have just one drive? Or will it be maybe for a week we have that drive open? Because I feel like maybe not everyone will be available on that day, or not everyone will be able to make it. I don't know, maybe is that overworking, or would it be too much to ask for a set amount of time, maybe 2-3 hours in the afternoon after work hours, generally maybe after 5?
Are you asking, you're doing the drive over a month, gathering the clothes?
Gathering.
And then
But when we
the
distribute.
actual event,
Yes.
it should be a few hours on a Saturday. Just like you're doing the garbage pickup. Pick one Saturday so that families are off and they can come for a few hours and pick the stuff that they would like to take.
Okay.
That was my interpretation when you guys mentioned it.
Well, once again, we didn't decide on anything, so you're bringing forth an idea, and I think that's what we should discuss. Do we want this a one-day event? I think a one-day event just makes more sense. We're not under heat, so we have hours to do this. If it does call for a second day, again, we can make that adjustment. If we have so many clothes left, we can either do another day, set another event. It's easy, we know how to, we already have the clothes collected. Or we could give it to another thrift store or something, but I think one day event makes more sense. So what do you guys think you want to do? Vice Chair Garcia.
Sorry. I think a one-day event does make sense, and again, if we do have too much inventory, we do choose a second date, maybe the next week, or I don't think planning it like that, we wouldn't have enough time maybe for the next 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. I originally thought maybe make it like a weekend, like a Saturday and a Sunday. But again, like we mentioned on another topic, Sunday's more of a family day. So, but it's different. It's different than our Adopt a Road because you're not working. You're going somewhere to visit, right? So, I don't know, just throwing it out there, maybe we could have it as a weekend, or if we can look at the inventory that we have and say, well, we don't have enough inventory to stretch it out between 2 days. We only have it for one Saturday. So, something to look on to prior.
Member Dupeyron?
Yeah, so based on the timeline that we have so far, would we be starting the advertisements and posters in September and be collecting the clothes through that month and then host the event in October, or are we collecting through October and then hosting the event in November?
I'm thinking maybe start collecting in September and then do the event around the end of October, or yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What are you guys thinking? Member Muncy.
Circling back to the 2-date thing, if we have our drive and we end up with an excess, I mean, we always could do a second date, but we could also explore options like donating the extra inventory to shelters in the city, like the women's shelter and children's,
We have a lot of ideas. Hold up. We have a lot of ideas thrown out right now, so I kind of want to just think of one thing at a time. We have the dates, the events, and then we also have collection. So let's think first, when do we want to collect these clothing? Are we thinking all of September or all of October? Member Whittish. So let's talk about that first.
So I understand perhaps I don't, with the September-October timeframe. The holidays would also be not far from there. And I know people tend to be, in my experience, a tad bit more generous around the holiday season, the feeling's in. But then again, on our end with that, with doing it in the holiday season, so what I'm talking about is December, near Christmas, Christmas break. I don't know if on our end that would be possible with family things, but I think that for the time frame, I think it just worked better around the holidays. But then again, I'm on both sides of that because our availability, and then I don't want to just it, as an idea of the generosity of people. I don't know if that's not set in stone. So I would say more towards the holidays.
Member Roman.
I think the holidays is complex, but sticking with that, we don't have to stick with December. We can do Thanksgiving, a giving, because it is a giving holiday, or even Halloween. We could do something fun with that, because that can also be a fun holiday to just focus on.
Vice Chair Garcia.
I put my hand down. It was basically just going to be verbatim that it was my impression at the very beginning that this was going to be more of a back to school event, which is why last meeting and it was thrown out that we would do it in September. But I do like that idea. I think that with the senior project, like what Member Muncy said, I feel like we would be kind of overloaded. So the idea with the holidays, in my opinion, is a good idea. It's a good idea.
Member Garcia.
Yeah, I also do think that's a really good idea, especially because, like he had mentioned, not only is it generous for people, but a lot of people our target audience, actually, the people who exert themselves to be able to afford things, they'll also be looking for
Yeah.
the resources. So if we maybe collect, like they had said, not necessarily in December, but through Thanksgiving, if we do a drive between Thanksgiving and Christmas, they'll have stuff for Christmas where they won't have to exert themselves, because Christmas is a really hard time for people who don't have the means, and it's a really hard time for kids and adults. So if we do decide to stretch this project out into the holidays, which I think would be a fantastic idea, I think doing the drive between Thanksgiving and Christmas would be fantastic, and maybe just collecting clothes from September to the middle of November would be fine. Or maybe even just from September to the end of October, so that we have time in November to sort and categorize what we need, because that will also take up a good amount of time depending on the inventory that we get.
Remember do pay Ron?
Yeah, if I can add something, I think between Thanksgiving and December, like Christmas and thing might be really difficult, because I know finals are coming up and we all have to do that, and then also with more family events and things like that. So I think we could start advertising through the month of September, and then start collecting in October, and then have the drive somewhere in November, like during Thanksgiving time, but not like maybe before that or a little after.
I'm thinking having the event in November, and then, like you said, like the start advertising in September, maybe at the end of September start collecting, and October is full collection. We end the collection date at the end of October or first week of November and start sorting. Advisor Revelo, do you have anything to say?
I was just going to agree. I was going to say the exact same thing. I don't think December is the best idea. A lot of people go out of town for holidays. You guys have school things. It is great to do it because of that.
It's still the holidays.
But
it's still
November
the holidays.
is still a holiday, so
Thanksgiving.
continuing, like doing the collection in October, doing it in November, I would probably not do it in December.
And in November, I'm already thinking of Christmas, so I feel like the holidays are still there. But yeah, I'm thinking of Christmas right now, guys. I really want Christmas to be here. So, but I think that's a really good timeline. So it started with Whittish, and then we trickled down all the way until Dupeyron. But I think the timeline we should do is we start advertising when we get our communications director in September, and then start collection from October to the end of October, and then do the event somewhere in November. Does that sound really good?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me write that down. Collection. Okay. Now, is there any, Vice Chair Garcia?
So we finalized our timetable. I think we should finalize collection, and then I have a note or a proposal about a change in location. So if you can lead the collection conversation.
Okay, for collection, we were talking about it earlier with City Hall and city facilities. Are we thinking of having, like we talked about earlier, just one place to collect, or are we thinking city facilities, multiple ones to collect? Raise of hands for just City Hall to be our collection site. Okay. Anyone else? Raise of hands for city facilities to be our collection sites. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So with this, there's pros and cons to anything. Obviously, having just the City Hall be our collection site, everyone knows just to go there. City Hall's it's in kind of like the center of Cape Coral. Everyone knows where to go. But having multiple facilities do that, it'll be a little bit more work. We're going to have to manage all of them, but also you reach out to more people that don't know that this is going on. So I think we should go forward with reaching out to different facilities that are willing to set up a drop box. We could do maybe a cardboard box or something like that. I wouldn't do a table, but maybe a cardboard box, and start reaching out to facilities and saying, hey, this is where we want to set up a donation drive in your facility. Is that okay? I think we should set a member to start doing that. What are you guys thinking? Yeah, set a member to nominate a member, appoint one. Okay, so do we have a volunteer to email different city facilities? And I can also, I'll send you a list of city facilities in Cape Coral so you can email them. But do we have a volunteer to do that, to email them? Member Dupeyron? Yeah. Is that okay if Member Dupeyron can do that in Cheddar? Yeah. Election. And Ms. Greglin, could you be the center for the city hall drop-off site? Like talk to them?
I'll reach out and find out what's the best location. I'm thinking it's going to be that key area in the city hall for various reasons, but I do need to get the stamp of approval, but I will work on that on my end.
Thank you. The next thing, wait, hold on. I said Mr., I'm so sorry. Member Muncy.
So just trying to reach the community, because obviously we want to reach as many people as we can. My family has ties with a bunch of different news anchors in the city. So if the council's interested, I'm sure I could reach out to them and see if they could report on it and maybe even get some interviews set up so we can reach everyone, because everybody gets up and watches the morning news. So
I love that idea. I think you should do that. Little project for yourself. Get us on the news, please, for a project. Maybe we can do that. Okay. Vice Chair Garcia, do you have anything?
Yes, so I wanted to touch on location. The previous meeting we discussed, and I don't believe we finalized it because I don't believe we did. And I rewatched the meeting for the meeting notes. I don't think we finalized it, that we wanted to use Four Freedoms as the event location. But the more that I thought about it, we chose Four Freedoms was brought up because it is in a lower income community. So the more I thought about it, the more I thought about more of like who we are as a council, right? So we work to serve Cape Coral, and Four Freedoms is as south as you can get in Cape. It is 3 minutes away from my house. I live in South Cape. So what I think about is those people in North Cape, right? If there's an event and I lived in North Cape and it's in all the way south Cape Coral and it's on a Saturday, I feel like that would deter me from going to that event, being all the way on the opposite side of the city, like an extreme. So what I was thinking, and I looked at a map of Cape Coral, I have it pulled up here, was that Lake Kennedy is smack dab in the middle of Cape Coral, I believe, right?
It is.
Yeah, so I feel like just making sure I'm reading this map right, it is smack dab in the middle, and I feel like if we change the location from Four Freedoms to Lake Kennedy, it provides more accessibility for all members of Cape Coral, instead of just focusing on one specific location of the city. So if we want to.
I am all for whatever you guys choose. I know Lake Kennedy, they are a big event. Well, they have lots of rentals for weddings. So if that is going to be the case, I would suggest you pick a date soon and contact their manager, because she's going to have rentals, and rentals, especially wedding rentals, are booked almost 2 years out. So that would be my suggestion, and getting in contact with her sooner than later. I know when we've had the gala, it was let her know almost a year in advance. So if that's what you're going with, which is a great idea because it is centrally located, that manager needs to know sooner than later.
Yeah, I think we all agree that we want to make it more accessible to everyone. I think we shouldn't decide right now where we want it. I think the two options are Lake Kennedy or Four Freedoms. So I think that you should go and ask Lake Kennedy if we could do it. They're going to want to know a date. So you're gonna have to say November, unless we set a date right now, which, if you guys wanna do that, I'm okay with that. But it's all up to, you have to ask Lake Kennedy. We can't just decide that we were gonna do it at Lake Kennedy without asking them and figuring out their availability, because then it's not up to us. Another reason why Four Freedoms is very accessible is because she works there. So it's easier. It's easier for us to get into those places. And I don't want it just to make things easier. I think we should all go for and get you to ask Lake Kennedy. But I think we should bring it to next meeting and or even tell us an update. Hey, Lake Kennedy said we can do this. The dates are this and this. I think that's what we should go for. We should ask Lake Kennedy as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would contact Jody
Like
tomorrow or Monday
next week.
and I would get a date. I would ask Jody, what day in November does she have available on a Saturday? And she will,
But then we wait until August 11th, right, to actually,
Exactly.
so then it's just dangling out there. Would she hold it for that long?
she'll hold it. for
Okay,
that long.
okay.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
I'll beg her.
She did that with the gala.
She did that with the spring gala.
last
Yeah,
one.
if let's put it like this, when you reach out to her and you ask her what date she has available, hopefully she has a date. Tell her we would like them to secure that date. At that point in time, if she needs to send me a contract, if she needs to send me something in writing, you can use me as a point of contact, and then we will get it finalized in minutes.
If I get that email by the end of the meeting, I'll have it in her inbox by tomorrow morning. Just because I would do it this evening, but I don't think it's proper to send any emails past 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, so.
You want her email?
At the end of the meeting, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great point, though. Great discussion. Any more questions, discussion, concerns? I think we kind of got a lot for this meeting. Do we have any more ideas of discussion? Special Garcia?
I know I'm talking a lot.
You're good.
So I will reach out to her. Her name is Jody, correct? Okay, so you're saying sooner rather than later. I don't feel comfortable waiting until August 12th to report back that we're available in Lake Kennedy. So I hope it's not inappropriate just to text in our group chat, hey, just emailed the lady. She has a date available in November. Here's what it is. Do we like it? Yay or nay? Yeah? Okay.
Yes. No sunshine. Makes things a little bit easier sometimes.
Yes.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, do we have any more discussion? Any more discussion about the topic? I'm very proud for both of our projects, the discussions that we had today, and the progress we made on both of them. So let's go to item 10F, Blessings in a Backpack, Sponsorship Continued Discussion. At our last meeting, we discussed different types of fundraisers we could possibly put together to help raise money for Blessings in a Backpack. We appointed both Member Garcia and Member Whittish to research and contact different places about their willingness to have a fundraiser with us. I will now open the floor to one of them to speak, or both. Member Whittish.
So if my laptop will turn on here, maybe not. I'll check my phone. 1 second, please. So we essentially compiled a list of businesses, over 80 businesses, and their phone numbers, and their contacts, and their emails. So I just have to write them down. They're all in my notes. And so what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna write them down on a Google Doc or a Word, whatever, and then I'll email that to you guys so that we have a literal contact book of businesses that we can start reaching out to for Blessings in a Backpack. Once again, over 80 businesses. I have their emails and phone numbers. And yeah, that was the work that we've done since last meeting. A lot of them, some are based in Fort Myers, which I think is okay because at the end of the day, a donation is a donation. It's a youth organization that they'd be willing to support. To remind everyone, we do have a tax ID, so Miss Griglin would be our point of contact for that, I believe. If they're, a business writes us a check, and then we would, exchange a tax ID or however we would do that. To write them off or give them a receipt. But yeah, that is the update that I have so far.
Could you like enlighten us of what type of businesses you guys reach out to?
So once again, we compiled the list. We didn't actually contact any because we wanted to, I wanted to update the council on that. But they would be local businesses. So we have breweries. We have, I think, Crumble Cookies was on there. We have restaurants. Essentially, small businesses is the gist of it.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion about that? Yes, seeing none, I will put the backup material of the businesses, and I think next meeting we can go kind of down the list of what we're interested in and who we think we should contact. But I would start contacting now as well, just so we can get our foot in the door with some businesses as well. So don't be like shy that, oh, we're probably not going to the council doesn't want them, the business for the fundraiser. I think if you start contacting them now and give us information with any business that you choose, it'd be helppful. Member Widish.
Would you prefer if I were to call them and see if they'd be interested, or would you like me to send like a nice formal email just explaining what we're looking for and, something like that?
Either is perfectly fine with me. If you email, CC me in the emails.
Chair, if I may make a suggestion, once again, wonderful, great ideas, but I think you guys need to step back and think of one major thing. You're reaching out to a small business who I'm sure is more than willing to, especially when they see youth face to face, but they're going to ask you, oh, so what event is this for? It's very hard to go to a business when you don't even have an event planned. So with that being said, my suggestion is if we are going to do the spring gala for next year, that's the first step. We need to determine a date. We need to have an event. It's hard to go to, if I was a business owner and you came to me, okay, tell me a little bit about the event that you're fundraising for. You can't even give them a date. So you see what I'm saying? Remember, Widish?
I was under the impression that we weren't going to do the spring gala. We were just getting fundraise money, like just fundraising money to give to Blessings in a Backpack. And yes, I thought that's what we were going to do. But if there's change of mind, remember Widish?
But I also wanted to add, the spring gala has been something that we've done, how long have we done it? In the past 2 or 3 years or longer than that? So although we don't have a date or a written thing that's booked, we know that we do that, and we know that we raise for that, anyway. So this would just be more of a head start in that area. But once again, this was for, I think, directly to Blessings in a Backpack is what was discussed and I believe decided on last meeting. So I think that, I don't really want to change our plan. I think that the spring gala will be something else that we fundraise for on our own. And we do that as a separate thing, but I like the idea of sticking it to these are funds for Blessings in a Backpack.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be more, in my mind at least, that's going to be better, a better sell than, oh, we're having a dance.
So your guys' intention is to strictly let the businesses know that any funds that they are donating, 100% of those donations are going to go directly to Blessings in a Backpack.
Yes. Okay. And I can email Blessings in a Backpack because I do have her stuff.
Right, Mrs. Arnold.
About what we've been planning with her not really knowing. So I think that's what I will do. Is there any more discussion? Any more questions? Member Bella?
I just have a question. I know we're doing the fundraiser with Jeremiah's, and that's supposed to be ongoing. Are we using some of those funds to hopefully contribute to Blessings in a Backpack?
I am at a stalemate with Jeremiah because the salesperson that had reached out to me to do the fundraiser, I guess, is no longer with them, and the owner of the business was not aware that he was offering those types of things. So I have not received one fund from Jeremiah. Not saying that we're not going to, but that's the situation I'm in, and that's why you have not received any additional information with Jeremiah, because we're kind of at a stalemate right now.
So
But with that being said, there are so many other businesses that you guys can go to and have the same thing. I know Culver's, for example, does it for at least Cape. I'm sure if you reached out to them and told them you're with the youth council, we would have plenty of other organizations. I mean, that's, to me, that's like I said before, that's an easy win-win. You know, all you got to do is, you know, whether we have to hand out a flyer, whether you have to mention it, you know, obviously when you reach out to those organizations, they'll tell you what they want. But that is like, hey, you don't really got to do much, but hey, mom and dad, let's go to dinner there tonight, because they are supporting us. And once again, the community is more than willing to give back to stuff like that. You know, you're not talking, you know, fine dining restaurants. You're talking, you know, what I consider franchises that at least if you were to have a family of 2 or 3 members, it's you know, it's not going to be a hardship for them to just go to Culver's.
Yeah, and that's why I also was telling Member Whittish and also you, Member Garcia, contact them already. We don't need the approval of our council.
Correct.
Like just contact them and you'll give this information when you get to the council. It's way more meaningful if you have that information, you already contact them coming to that meeting than not just saying, oh, I have this list of businesses. Member Garcia?
So would you just like me to contact them and be like, hey, so this is the organization we're doing this for, I'm with the city, and I'd like what percent of the profit would be? What would I ask them for?
So they're called like fundraiser nights. I guarantee if you asked to speak to the manager that they would know exactly, but most of them are called like fundraiser nights. And right, just, you know, you let them know that, you know, give us the details, you know, how does it work, you know, because usually they'll set a dedicated day, obviously usually in the evenings because that's easier for people, you know, 4 to 8 or something, and they'll say, you know, if you come in, you need to, maybe there has a flyer that we have to print out. I mean, but once again, whoever you work with the manager, they'll be able to assist you as to what their requirements are.
Okay.
But yeah, just tell them you want to do a fundraiser night.
Any more discussion? And if you need any help, just text us and then we'll help you, okay? Okay, let's go, seeing no more discussion, let's go to our next item 10G, Lovelock's project updates. I will now turn the floor over to Member Bella and Member Little for any updates on the project and Art on Board. Member Bella.
So I personally don't know what Little has been doing, but I'm just going to give you my updates because we're working together, unfortunately. But so I know for the GoFundMe that we have $140 in there right now, and that only goes to the $1,000 that we need for the paint. And I got in contact with Leslie from Art on Board, who's donating or like fabricating the materials and giving the rest. And she said that they can start as soon as August 7th, but I wanted to get in contact with Cultural Park and like Parks and Rec. And I guess I could have mentioned this in an email before instead of actually bringing the question. But do you have contact with anyone at Parks and Rec? Because I tried emailing and calling, and I just don't know how to get like.
She's our Parks and Recs lady right here. So yeah, I mean, once again, right, if you guys need context, you just have to let us know, and we can get you whatever information you need within the city limits.
So I got the email for Parks and Rec that deals with Cultural Park specifically, but again, with emails, they get lost, they don't respond for 2 weeks with the follow-up.
Yeah, your 2 contacts would probably be Parks Superintendent, which just was hired and doesn't
Yes.
start until August, or the Parks and Recs Director, which is Joe Petrella. So those 2 is who I would do, but we do have an interim superintendent, which is Lucille. So I can give you both of those contacts after the meeting if you'd like. And that would be who I would tell you to.
All right. And other than that, is there anything else holding us back from starting to build?
I don't believe so, but that would be on them, whether, I mean, I think you had already had approval for this project, so yeah, I think it should be fine.
Okay, I didn't know how much of the I don't know how much Member Reamer has actually like set this in stone, so I just
No,
want to
I
make sure
think
we're all
we
good with that.
Set all of it in stone. We were just looking for payment for the actual structure, if I'm not
I would
mistaken.
probably send an email to Mr. Mazurkowitz, and, because he knows, like,
Yeah, he would know
he knows
too.
this, what, like, the timeline and everything.
Because this project has been for
Yeah, it's been
at
a
least
while.
2 years, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, email Advisor Revelo for the emails for the Parks and Rec, but also email Mr. Mazurkowitz about the timeline and the question about August 7th. So we have like a clear, definitive thing. Any more discussion? Any more questions? Okay. Let's go to item 10H, member replacement discussion. At our last meeting, Ms. Griglin announced that our senior member, Dixon Polanco, has resigned from his position on council and expressed that we have the choice of either replacing or not replacing his spot on the board. I instructed you all to think about your position and opinion on this, so I'm going to open the floor and see what you guys think, besides Ms. Griglin. Actually, Ms. Griglin's going to.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna interject really fast with that, because I'm gonna make it even more simpler. So, based on the fact, okay, so when you guys, the newly elected junior members that came into play, we had 3 candidates who were not chosen at the time. So what we had thought, and Councilmember Cosden and I had discussed, that we would, if you guys agree to it, that would be a great opportunity, since they had already shown interest in wanting to be on council, as long as obviously A, they're still available, and B, are still interested in the position, that we could really cut out the middleman part of all the interviewing and everything else that city council will have to do on their end, and we could ask those 3 if they wanted to go back into a pool, and then at a future meeting, probably in August right now, city council would select one of those members.
I agree. I actually thought of the same idea before, but I thought it was like, okay, let's not do that. Member Woodish.
I agree with essentially one condition, as long as they, they don't have to reapply, don't have to fill out the application again, but as long as they interview again, and that's just.
They were, and may I ask why? They've already been through the interview process with 9 people. They interviewed with each council member, the mayor, as well as Mr. Mazurkowitz. So I would just like your thought process.
The only reason, maybe perhaps not an interview again, but I'm just trying to think through fairness with that, and it's also, clarifying question, are we only opening it up to them?
Correct. We are not putting applications back out, because you have to remember, school hasn't even started yet. So by the time the school starts, you're looking at August 10th, and by the time the counselors even get it out, because what are they doing at the beginning? I mean, the school is going to take priority. By the time we get anything started with the school, their year is going to be over with.
Okay.
So, I mean, we truly have 3 well-qualified candidates who were in the same interview process that you guys were in, waiting available as long as they, we only had 7 spots available. So it wasn't like they weren't chosen because they weren't qualified. We just did not, we had more applicants than we had vacancies at that time.
Member Feichtel?
So these 3 candidates are going to be juniors this year?
They are going to be juniors, yes.
So that would make it an 8-6 split between juniors and seniors on the council?
That is correct.
Okay.
But with the new ordinance, we are allowed to do that. We could fill that position, because of the way the ordinance reads. So the ordinance is not hindering us, per se.
That's why I thought it wasn't going to be allowed, because I was like, oh, we need to have 7 juniors and 7 seniors.
Correct.
Vice Chair.
So that's what I was going to bring up, is that right now we're 7 to 6 if all 3 of them were juniors. So when we do choose one of them, if we do decide that it would be 8 to 6, which means next year we are cutting out a junior spot because we would have 8 seniors, and then we'd have to cut out choosing 7 juniors and only choose 6 juniors.
So no, what we can do is when that junior takes that position on, I mean, if we make them for 2 terms, they're automatically gonna become a senior anyway. Or we can make it for 1 term, but either way, then I mean, we could do either. We could keep them for the 2 terms, because honestly, I understand you want the balance, but it's not hindering either way, whether we have juniors or seniors. And we know that we've already got them for the 2 years. Maybe somebody ends up graduating early. I mean, you don't even know that, we don't know what the case scenario is. I mean, we've had people graduate early, and then we've ended up having to reach out for just a senior position.
Member Negro?
I know it's kind of pessimistic to point out, but considering what I've seen, at some point, one person is going to end up quitting no matter what, whether they're a senior or a junior, and that position is going to be a thing again. With this thing, with like not needing a balance, it doesn't really matter anyway. So if something were to happen, it's not like going to be a big deal, and it's not going to be a permanent thing, this 8 to 6 balance. It might last 2 or 3 years at most.
Member Feichtler?
This might be getting a little too far into hypotheticals, but then if next year a senior leaves and we get a junior, then we would be back to 7-7. So I'm not sure what to make of that. I just thought I'd point it out.
I think we should go forward with the 8-6. I don't think it makes too much of a difference. Like, we're all high schoolers, we're not middle schoolers. We're not trying to put on a middle schooler. It's still a high schooler. And once we go into hypotheticals, there's always going to be something happening. When we get to that point, I'm probably not going to be chair anymore, so you're going to have to ask that chair about whatever is happening. So if someone gets off our board, then we'll have to deal with that later on. But I hope no one gets off our board and we have to go to a, 9 to 5 senior, but that's not, we're not at that right now. It doesn't really matter.
And you don't vote that way anyway. You
And
don't
I
vote
think the bigger issue is we're not having that extra hand for that couple months. We have to interview. If we're going to try to get a senior, we're gonna have to interview for however long, and we're missing that extra hands on our board. So I think it just makes way more sense to go with the junior, so we have that person in by September, October, whatever the date is. So, should we vote on this? Okay. Let you guys do your discussion and then we'll vote. Vice Chair?
So from what I'm hearing, they would be serving a 2-year term,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So,
2 years.
okay.
Because it will complicate things if we do, because we're kind of just pushing the issue back. If we're doing a 1-year term, I don't really think that's fair. Like, they try to get appointed as a 2-year member as a junior. So I think putting 1 member just kind of complicates things.
Right. I'm a little hesitant. I was a little hesitant about the idea because in my mind, I didn't think that it was fair to cut out from having 7 available spots to having 6 available spots. I understand that 1 spot, not a big deal, but in my mind, that's what makes me the most hesitant, is cutting out an opportunity to have someone on the board again. But I think with our situation and our necessity, it's something it's not that important.
Member Wittich?
I think maintaining a 2-year term also keeps things more consistent with the ordinance, and it just keeps things, honestly, a better flow. And then, I had my mind changed. Like, I don't think they should go through the interview process again. And I think that, if we're picking from these pool of 3, they obviously wanted to be on the council, like all of the juniors sitting here now. Like, they had the same want for it, they had the same passion for it, and so just getting them on the council, pending the vote of the city council, I think that just, they're as deserving of the 2-year time as we are, so.
Member Anchetta?
I know when Member Feichthaler applied, there was more than one applicant, so I feel like maybe we could go and get those applicants too to be in the same pool. That way it'd still be in the same age range, and they've already done the application, and they've already gone through the process.
This was in, I believe, September, so.
But you were on the council last.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
It's been like months and months.
Yeah, it's been almost a year since
I think that
then.
might be too long to reach back out to them,
Yeah.
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 unfortunately.
Because he was a junior applicant, now he's a senior, so it wouldn't count. I think the 3 are juniors, they just interviewed, they
Yeah.
just did all of that. I would say that that's what she's gonna probably
Yes,
say,
yeah.
Yeah.
because he's been on for almost a whole
It
year.
was a good idea, but again, it's what Member Whittish kind of was alluding to when he said we should interview them again is if that person kind of changed in that months that we interviewed them. But a whole year that Feichthaler, like his interviewees, a person can change in a year. So I feel like that's the difference between going with Ms. Griglin's idea than adding another set of pool interviewees. Okay. Yes, Vice Chair.
Sorry, again. I did agree with Whittish when he said the interview process, just not like a full interview, maybe them come to a council meeting or something like that. But I did have a question from Councilmember Cosben. When you chose the members, did you have so you chose the 7, but then did you have runner-ups? Or was that a personal thing that you did? Was it discussed? Not that you could discuss it.
So we all said our 7 names, basically, and then the city clerk tallied up who got the most votes. And every single one of the 10 got at least 1 vote, I want to say. So every candidate was wanted to be there by somebody. We could maybe look back and see who the highest losing person was, but I don't know how productive that would be. We could look, it's definitely there.
I asked that because that was when did we do them? Was it April that we did the interviews? Maybe May? No, it was voted on in May, but I think it was before that. I worry that the council members don't maybe remember the individual, so I thought maybe something a little less formal than an interview. Maybe them come to a meeting and speak for 1 or 2 minutes just to refresh the council members' minds, unless you guys made notes of the members.
I made
it's
notes.
just throwing it out there.
Speaking for myself, probably my colleagues did because we all had binders made for us. Finding the binder is the fun part.
Well, and
But-
if I may make a suggestion, not to interrupt you, I have their contact information, so if any council member is unsure or wants to reach out to them via phone, that is an option. So they are given that option if they're still unsure or want to reach out to them. I understand your guys' concern, but putting them in front of a city council meeting, you talk about intimidation, think about you being at that podium.
How you guys feel on
with
the
with
day that you give your
right.
report.
After
yeah.
having been rejected by us.
Exactly. You have to,
On
and
camera,
once
by the
again,
way.
That's actually kind of rude, you guys.
put yourself in that position. I mean, you personally interviewed 9 people in a room with a single person, and that had to be a little intimidating. Now I'm gonna put you up there with, everybody watching, you're on the screen. I mean, I just think it's very, very intimidating to
I think you
put
can give
somebody
them the
through that.
option, but we're not going to force them to do it. Not just make you have to do the interview or a speech 2 minutes in front of them. I think we should just give them the option. If they feel comfortable to do it, props to them. They get more speaking time to the people, but I think that's kind of a middle ground way to do it. Member Whittish?
I was going to say when the council voted to appoint us, Member Mazurkowitz and myself were in the audience, and the chair had asked us to come and speak, and so we both spoke on our behalf. And I know if we're not doing interviews, there still needs to be a piece in the middle for me to be, on agreement, kind of. There still needs to be a little small piece. So once again, they don't have to be required, but maybe it be strongly encourage that they come to a council meeting and they speak for themselves. For me, there just needs to be that middle piece. That's really all I'm at. Yeah.
I think that, yeah.
It would be wise to do that. Anyone can come and speak at a council meeting during input, and many people who apply to be appointed do that. They come and speak, so that's just, we can put that out there, but I don't want to force them.
Yeah, I think Ms. Griglam, when you reach back out to them, tell them that they have the option to come up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the middle ground. Does that work? What is city? Okay. So raise of hands, in going forth with Ms. Griglin's idea about the member replacement. Or raise of hands if we would like to go with Ms. Griglin's idea of getting the 3 interviewees to be our member replacement, or doing something else. Raise your hand. Okay, unanimous. So Ms. Griglin, you do your stuff.
Perfect. I will take it from there. Thank you.
Is there any discussion or questions? No? Okay, let's go to item 11, next meeting agenda topics. Are there any topics to consider for next meeting's agenda? Member Woodish.
Just revisiting the rules of operations.
What?
Just to revisit the rules of operations.
Oh, yes. Okay. So I'm thinking to do 10A to 10G. I think yes. So we would have the strategic plan, youth council operations. Would we need the communications director application discussion? Oh, yeah. Yep, we'll have that. Will we want to change the title of it? I would definitely change the title. Okay, I'll figure out how I'll do that. We'll have the senior project, the junior project, blessings in a backpack, love logs. We don't need member replacement anymore. Is there any more? I don't think we need anything else. Yeah, so just for the record and vice chair, we will be adding 10A through 10G with amendment of 10C. I think that works. Is there any discussion or question? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go to item 12, reports from members. I will now open the floor for any reports from our youth council members. Member Whitish.
So I just got back from North Carolina where there's an annual, this was the 56th annual one, the Youth Conference on National Affairs, and it's just this really cool experience where there's over 600 delegates. They're all in high school, and they're from over 32 states, and we all get together and we, debate our proposals about topics facing us. And I just wanted to, it kind of struck in my mind a little bit. We're getting ready to consider a strategic plan based for, youth development. And I just wanted to bring a few things to your attention from this national conference that, on the minds of essentially everyone right now. Just a few topics to consider for next meeting where we discuss the strategic plan initiatives. It just, I might submit them, I might not. You might if you think it's important, but 3 things that I had marked down that are on the minds, just from this national perspective. It would be, school violence and things of reform like that, be climate action, and then it would be anti-discrimination measures. So I just wanted to bring those to your attention. Those were like hot topics on everybody's mind at the conference, something to consider. I would personally highlight, school violence, gun violence reform, things like that. That might be a topic that I submit for consideration. But yeah, I just had a really cool experience, and I just wanted to kind of report back to you guys.
Thank you. Member Wittes, does anyone have a report at this time? No. My report is I concluded my week-long program at Junior Leadership with the Chamber of Commerce. It was really fun. It was a whole week. Like I said, the last meeting was a whole week. Each day was about 7 to 5. It was really long, about 12 hours. Every day we would get on a van and go to different places in our city. We went to community leaders, we went to Cape Caring Center, we went to the police department, fire department, went to City Hall. I was with Mazurkowitz most of the day. I was with Tom Hayden a couple of the day. It was really fun. We had lunch provided every day. It was really fun. But yeah, so the main point of going to those different facilities and organizations is we figured out what project we're gonna do with junior leadership, and we decided on 2 different projects. One, we are doing, like I talked about earlier, we are painting a mural at Cape Kiwanis. Their shed, they do a annual Easter extravaganza, and they have a shed that they take pictures in front of. So we decided we're gonna do a mural for them. So that's actually getting finished tomorrow. And then the second project, which is a more larger scale project, it is a food showdown between high schools. So we're gonna do a food drive and do a competition between the high schools. So that we have not started on that yet, but I will definitely be reporting about that. But yeah, so that was my experience going to junior leadership. Next year, you guys will see I'm going to send out the application for you guys to try to go because it's super fun and it was really fun. Alexa, do you have any report at this time about our time there?
About our time there, it was really fun. It opened like a lot more experiences for me. Like I got to see a part of like a bunch of different facilities I thought I would never be able to see. I got to do a lot of things. Like we went on top of the RO plant, and you could see the whole city. So that was really fun. It's a really great opportunity. At first, when I first heard about it, I thought I was gonna hate it, and I ended up really enjoying it. And you get so close with everyone there, and I mean, you're spending 12 hours every day with them. So it's a really great opportunity. And
It's
I really
intimidating at first,
everything.
but it really is fun. We did like a bunch of random crazy things, but like it was amazing. So yeah, is there any more reports? Any fun things you have done this summer? Please let me know. I want to know. Vice Chair.
So it doesn't have to be like
Just something
as
that's
intense
like-
as Whittish going to North Carolina or anything else, or
Just tell me something.
okay, then it's gonna be.
Okay, just tell me something.
I've had a very adulting summer, guys. I opened up a checking account. I'm getting my debit card too. Yeah. I got 2 jobs, right? So I'm working now. I drove here solo. I drove solo for the first time today because I got my driver's license yesterday.
Oh my
goodness. Past first time, that's great.
You are lucky because Member Arevalo does not, or Chair Arevalo does not drive by herself.
I can drive. I promise, guys. I literally can drive.
Yeah, just that. I've had an adulting summer. It's been fun.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Member
Yep.
Feichtler, do you have anything?
Yes. Back in June, I went to a program called Boys State up in Tallahassee, and it was a week long, like a lot of programs that we've been talking about. It was very long hours. Like I think we went there at 7, and then we went back to our dorms at like 9. So yeah, pretty long hours. And I think I learned a lot about the government and how it works.
No.
And I saw here in our backup materials, let me see. It says that Robert's Rules of Order shall be a guideline for all meetings of youth council. I actually know what that is now.
That's so funny because when I wrote it, I was like, I know who Robert is, so. Is there any more reports? Any more discussion? Okay, guys, seeing none, let's go to item 13, reports of the council liaison and advisors. Are there any reports from our council liaisons or advisors? Opening.
I just want to say, you guys are such a good council. I'm so happy to be working with you. Good luck, because you're going to be starting school very soon, right? And our next meeting is, I think, a couple days after school starts.
Second day of
You'll
school.
be different people then.
Yeah.
Okay, good luck.
Excited. Not really.
Anything? Nope.
Okay, so the only report that I want to talk about really briefly is I just want to make sure I did not miss anyone's email, but I have 8 members attending the FLC annual conference. Chair Aravello, Member G. Garcia, Member S. Garcia, Member Bella, Member Mazurkowitz, Member De Pruan, sorry if I pronounce it wrong, Member Negron, and Member Anchetta. Perfect. All right. So I will, as I know more information, as obviously as it gets closer, you guys will be the only one in the group that will get emailed as to times or whatever. I pretty much got everyone's forms. I'm just missing 2. So if you haven't got me your form, please, 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 I need it by next week. Because once I put in that form and I pay the registration fees, it's usually non-refundable. So I just want to make sure that everybody who has signed up, once I send in that payment, you're going. Okay? All right. Yes, Member Whitish.
Off the top of your head, like we've talked about, you know, our budget for, like there's been, it's come up, just like a random question. Do you know what our current balance is? Just for,
I honestly have no idea.
could you possibly email me what that is? When you,
Sure. I mean, I'm just curious. What are you trying to get at?
I'm just like, I want to know, like, you know, for like, just for future projects or anything, I just want to know, like, what are, like, our limits, you know, in terms of, like, what we can do. Just,
Remember the annual amount? Isn't it like 25 or something?
Usually they start us at 5. Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna use Constance's budget.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, council has a big budget, not youth. We're just that little peon on the bottom. But it does allow us, you know. But once again, you know, if you guys fundraise, I mean, there are national conferences, but I can't even start looking into national conferences, you know. Most national conferences you're looking at, you know, the NLC is like $210 a person.
Yeah, and then you gotta fly.
And then you also gotta fly, and then that's hotel. So, I mean, that's, you know, not something, unfortunately, in our budget. I mean, unless you guys really fundraise very well. But at least we can stay with the local ones. I mean, the local ones aren't bad. You know, the trip up to Tally, you know, once again, I mean, you guys didn't pay anything out of pocket, and it's the same thing with this one. You know, you're not paying out of pocket, and we are saving a tremendous amount on this one, only because we're not spending the night as well. So, and the only other thing I want to say is, obviously, I heard you guys, you know, great with all of the events that you guys are going to. They sound like they're awfully long days with early start times.
7 o'clock. Huh?
So, you know, those 7 o'clock start times, I see no problem with
7
seeing you
o'clock
at
road
7:30.
cleanup
I
is-
gave you an extra half an hour. That's all I gotta say. No. Good job, guys, on everything.
All right, is there any more discussion, guys? No? Okay, let's go to item 14, time and place of future meetings. The next regular meeting of the Cape Coral Youth Council is scheduled for Friday, August 11th, 2023, at 3 p.m. in council chambers. This meeting is now adjourned.